The way North Avenue going down, where it looked pretty tough right now. I drove past last week, and where the bars used to all be, the Abbey and Bumpers and all those places, all looked like they weren't in business. I wonder if Iona would expand down North Avenue at all, but I guess it'd be just too far to act off campus.
Yeah. It's hard to say what the next steps are going to be and which direction they can go. Probably their best bet, and it's a difficult one, is to slowly acquire the private homes.
Right.
And then, because that's what they've done recently. They've acquired, I don't know, about 15 homes over on Hubert Place.
Oh, good.
And ripped those down, and that's why we have the current building, you know. But for the future, I don't know what they're...
When the parking lot first got built, it just seemed like such a big waste. Who needed it? Now it's probably nothing compared to what you need. If it was 10 times that size, you probably still wouldn't have enough room.
Sure.
That used to be where we would say the rosary every night. It was a big, flat piece of land. And you'd have 125 men in habits walking up and down saying the rosary.
Yeah.
And part of it was also handball courts, of course.
Yes, that's right.
But I mean, what a difference when the parking lot went in. To remember what it was like when I was there in the mid '60s.
Was it asphalt or grass?
It was asphalt, and but it was like, you know, the church militant on parade would walk back and forth, saying the rosary every night. Yes. No matter how cold or how hot, you were all dressed up in your habit. Yes. And that was where we said prayer every night. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, after I left, it must have been the late, I don't know when the parking lot went up, but it was much after the mid '60s because it was still there. So anyway,
yes.
It must have been sometime in the '70s. Well, you said it was.
Yeah, because I was here in 75, 74, 75, and it was already here, I think. I think it went up with Rice, didn't it? With Rice Hall?
Well, Rice Hall, now you mean Rice Hall?
The dormitory.
The dormitory. Now that was, what's now called Rice Hall, was where we, as scholastics, lived.
Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe there's a year before that I went was the first time it was allowed as a dormitory for students.
As a dormitory for students.
Right.
Oh,
it had always been for brothers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
because what was then, it was kind of a place where people could come, and I think they had snacks and stuff like that on a Friday night, and they may have played games and so on. That was the chapel. At that end of of Rice Hall, and it was called Edmund Hall when we were there. They even changed the name when it became a hall for the students.
Yeah.
So anyway, but getting back to Michael, because we've kind of so 1949, let's say 48, 49, whatever it was. We or you. Kind of got to the point that you made, or were making a decision to enter the Brothers.
That's right.
So maybe we could kind of start there and see what happened there.
Yes. Well, I had this job down at the Nelson Tower there,
Garmento.
34th Street, right, area of all the hubbub. I told them then that I was going to make a move, and I resigned from my work. Prior to the resignation, I decided that I was going to go on a cruise. Now, not a cruise by today's standards. I chose to go on, in fact, it was about the only kind that you could make in those days. Mind you, it was well, shortly after the war, 5 years, but there weren't the luxury liners that were in operation yet. So I got on a tramp steamer, and it went from New York down through the Caribbean, several of the islands down there, and they would just stop like for a day, unloading and taking something on for the next island and around. And there were only 11 people on board, besides the crew, 11 passengers on board.
How many people could go on if they wanted to?
As passengers?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think more than 15.
Oh, okay.
You know, very, very limited accommodations, and nothing like the accommodations that you would get today.
It wasn't exactly the QE2.
It was no way like the QE.
Was it expensive?
No, I don't think that I paid for a trip that lasted almost 30 days. I don't think I paid $300 for it, you know.
Oh my God.
It was really great. And if you had all your meals, but you just had 3 choices at each meal. It was like a fish or steak and a chicken, you know, something like this. You took from. There was an open bar, which was just like opening up one of these cabinets over here and taking out a bottle and making your drink and signing your name with that. But it was a very, very wonderful trip for me. First of all, I enjoy traveling, so seeing these other places and the Caribbean nations, they were all colonies still at the time, was most enjoyable. But it gave me a wonderful opportunity to decide what I was going to do. And I brought Thomas Merton's book, Seven Story Mountain.
Oh,
I
yeah.
brought that book with me, amongst some others, but that one in particular. And on the trip, they were almost all teachers from St. John's University, and a couple of college professors from Caldwell,
Oh, in New Jersey.
and Seagirt.
Oh, Seagirt, yes.
On the coast of. And we gelled like a family. There's only 11 of us, you know, and we're very much on our own. They were teachers, and I was interested anyway. I admired teachers. And
All men?
listening.
Were they all men?
Most of them were there were like, I think, like 4 married couples, and then there were some single women that were there, and 1 single man.
We're not going to go there.
Yeah, okay, don't go there. Right. And they were all ancient.
They were.
Yeah. But we that was a very significant trip for me because I made up my mind on that trip. You could be alone, you could be with people, you could just enjoy it. And when you got to a port there, you could go aboard or leave the ship or stay on board, whatever you preferred doing. So when I got back to New York a month later, I had made up my mind.
Is that
I was
because
going to do
you got a
something.
chance to get to know those teachers and they said they liked what they did? Did you ask them?
Oh, well, part of it was that. Part of it was the interchange with the teachers and finding out something about teaching life, because I didn't have any friends who were teachers, had any experience in that at all. And I was very, very, let's say, I had no background in teaching. How could I enter a teaching order? That was my thought. So the lay brother, and that's what I talked about with Austin Gleason. So then when I got back, then I went up and I saw him, and it was funny when it was kind of all decided, because I didn't have to get any parental okay because of my age. He said, all right, you'll be up there on the 1st of August. No, the 15th of August, because this was around the 8th of August we were talking. And
I'm going to stop you for a second.
Okay,
because this
sure.
tape's running out.
yeah, I couldn't meet the date that he gave me because my folks were on vacation and they were in Canada. And they didn't even know what I was going to do.
Did they need to sign off?
No, but I wanted to let them know. I didn't want them to come home and find me out of the house with a note saying, I'm in West Park, New York, you know.
So just out of
I
respect.
told them that. I said, yeah, I just can't leave without saying goodbye,
Yes.
you know. And so he said, okay, we'll see what we can do. You have to be there before the retreat.
Right.
There's a retreat before you begin the novitiate, 8-day retreat and so. So we finally worked it out, and I think it was the 24th of August